Hey guys, and welcome again to another edition of Mondays with Mike. First things first, happy Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day. I hope you guys did have a great weekend. If you're a mom, happy Mother's Day to you. Hopefully you made the moms in your life happy for everybody else. Always a lot of pressure on a guy, I'm telling you. It's a lot of pressure on the husband to make sure that Mother's Day goes well. But I think I escaped this time relatively unscathed. So on today's edition of Mondays with Mike, we're going to talk about this ongoing heat wave, when it could break, and also what is it, and how do we know when it's going to end? What causes it? What could we look at for some clues as to whether or not it is going to be coming to an end? And so we'll take a look at some computer model kind of stuff and talk a little bit about the jet stream and some of the factors that go into why it gets so hot around here sometimes. Knowing full well that it's going to get a whole lot hotter, I know, as we head into June, July, August, but it really is very unusual for this time of the year for us to hit the low and middle 90s and to have morning low temperatures around 80. I thought, though, what we would do first is I want to take you on a little bit of a tour around the studio. There's nobody in here. It's just me. Jose's not in here yet. I got the whole place to myself. So I'm going to take you on a little tour, show you the famous green wall. But I think more than anything else, this is not like an in-depth tour. This is more of just the quirks. I want to share with you some of the quirks and some of the odds and ends and some of the more unusual behind-the-scenes things that only you are going to know. Only you, having watched this video. Okay. So I think the first place we'll begin is at the famous green wall. Yep, the green wall. It's called the Chroma Key wall. Chroma Key actually was a company. They've been around forever. Well, not forever, not like Roman Empire forever, but for many decades. And basically the technology is that you pick a certain color. It doesn't have to be green. It could be any color, really. Green happens to work better than the others. And wherever the camera sees that color green, you can overlay something on top of it. In my case, it's weather graphics. In the movies, they use it all the time in the movies. If somebody's skydiving and they're not really skydiving, then you have a green screen behind them and you put a fan underneath them and you have them falling through a sky graphic behind them, and that works in the movies, but for us, it works on TV too. So I'm going to go ahead and flip around the camera. Hold on. All right, so there we go. Here's a wider view. We actually have a pretty big green screen because it's set up for high definition, so they can zoom out and zoom in. If the green screen were too small, then they wouldn't be able to zoom out very much. And the floor, for the most part, is also green. And they did that because sometimes they want to show the weather person their whole body, like head to toe. It's best in my case that you all don't see that. Probably for the best. And then, how do we know what's happening? So this is my POV, okay? So I'm standing on the wall, and ordinarily I would see myself in the monitor over there. I'd be standing in front, and so I say, I would take a toss from Jose or Lena or Sally or Melissa. Hey, Mike, whatever, it's really hot out, blah, blah, blah. And I would say, yes, indeed it is. And then I would turn to use my hand pointing at the wall, but really I'm looking at these side monitors. And then I would turn this way and look at these side monitors. So we have monitors on the side that are, let me see what's going on. And it's really not that hard once you get the hang of it. It's not rocket science. It ain't rocket surgery. Okay, so let's go find something else that's interesting. Oh, how about the robotic cameras? Okay, so back in the olden days when I started in the world of television, you had a camera operator, and the camera operator would move the camera around, get it into position, focus everything, all of that stuff. Well, today's age, we have robotic cameras. Now, it's not completely autonomous because these weren't designed by Elon Musk, but They're basically remote controlled. The base here of the camera is very heavy, many hundreds of pounds, to make sure that the top part doesn't tip over, obviously. You do need to be careful though. You don't want to get in the way of one of these things when they're moving because, for obvious reasons, I mean, you know, you could get hurt. And you also need to make sure you don't slip on these cables. They are pretty slippery, but the news anchors will be able to look in this. They'll see their teleprompter with the words on it, and they'll be able to see, you know, the newscasts. Well, you could put various things here in that monitor, but so how are they controlled? Well, we still do have a camera operator. It's just that instead of having one camera operator to physically move all the cameras around, we have somebody who has a joystick who can move all these cameras manually with a joystick. Or I would have to ask one of the technical guys, but a lot of the stuff does become automated. So there's different, they have this is what's amazing. The computers, there's a computer that has the whole studio mapped out. It was as if you had latitude and longitude on a map. They have the whole studio mapped out like a grid and saved in the computer. And then you can program the camera where you want it to go because it knows where it is on the grid. So you could mark a spot and you could say, well, this is one of our new camera shots that, you know, points this way. And you program this latitude and longitude, you know, this right here on the grid. And then you hit a button and the camera goes where it's supposed to go. So it's kind of cool. I mean, I suppose it's kind of like a Roomba vacuum, you know, like those vacuums that just go ahead and vacuum the house by themselves. Very similar, just much more expensive. These monitors here are triple monitors. And this shot here is known as the trips. So if they say trips, if they say Sally to the trips, she knows that she's coming over here to the triple monitors. That's the trips. This is the news desk. We used to have like a desk. You know what I mean? Like an actual desk. This is sort of futuristic. It's like a flying saucer sort of thing. Then over here, we have these two monitors that are known as BAM. This is BAM left, BAM right. BAM. And BAM stands for big monitor. There's an A in there also, big A something monitor that I won't get into. But so that's one. That's another one. You used to see me on that monitor a lot, and we might go back to using it. We might eventually go back to using it. There was a little problem with just these lines. Some people didn't like the lines. I don't know, I didn't really mind the lines that much, but some people really didn't like it. So we might get back to it. This object here, let's see. This thing is called a jib cam. And what it is it's a very, very long boom. See right there? It's a long boom. I don't know how long it is. 10, 12 feet maybe? Something like that. And there's a camera on the end, and you really need to know what you're doing because on this side, the jib cam operator has their viewfinder there, and then they have all kind of stuff here to focus and zoom in and out, and then they have to move this thing. Oh man, I'm gonna break something. So you can move it around like that. Oh, see, look, see how I'm moving it around? It flies around, it looks like a helicopter. It really does look like a helicopter. The thing is you have to be very careful because we have lights. Okay. I need to make sure I don't break it. Because we have lights everywhere. All of those, like, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And if you're not careful, it will you can break it. You know, you can bang that thing into the lights and then you get in trouble. And I don't want to do that. So let's see, any other weird quirks of the studio? Yeah, I do. There's 2 places where I can sit in here. This is like a little mini desk where I sit most of the time, actually, because it's kind of in the light and it's right next to my green wall. So I do like that. But there's actually a weather cave over here. If you watch our after show, you'll see it. And in the old pre-COVID days, I used to sit back here all the time. But this is another quirk here. This is another interesting quirk. So this is sort of our, I call it the bat cave. I mean, it really isn't. But the thing is, so you're back here working, and it is a very cool workspace because we have all these monitors. But the way the studio was set up, I would have to hide back here because, see, the camera would point at Melissa most of the time, and you would like see my head in the background. And that wasn't good. So, so that's why I sit over here most of the time now. But I have options. I can go over and sit in the newsroom and do my work over there also. So let's go ahead and that's a little tour. I'll give you more tours coming up. I just wanted to show you a couple little quirks because I was kind of looking around the studio saying wait, I forgot one. Hold on. We have, I don't watch NASCAR very much, but we have this is so creepy. So we have this, I think that's Joey Logano. And we use him to model different things. Like there was a Houston Gamblers shirt that they dropped off, so they put it on him. And then there's a Gambler's hat that they put on him also. And so the creepy thing is when you walk into the studio, you see like this person. I mean, every time you walk in, you're like, and then, it's just the NASCAR guy, just the semi-life-size NASCAR guy creeping everybody out again. All right, I'm going to clip. Whoops. Okay, sorry, I was going to clip the thing on there, and then anyway. So I want to talk a little bit about this heat wave. Well, first of all, what is a heat wave? There's actually no formal definition of it other than it's a prolonged period of time with above average temperatures. And we definitely have that right now because average for Houston for this time of the year, I mean, a lot of you might surprise you because we're in May, but average is a low of 66 and a high of 85. That's on average. And instead we've had lows of like 79. Like this morning, I think the low was 79, maybe 78, unofficially so far. And we've had afternoon highs in the low 90s and some middle 90s, and that's been running near records. So yeah, that would definitely qualify as a heat wave, day after day after day of temperatures near record highs. So how do we know if it's going to end? What does it look like on computer models and stuff? So what I wanted to show you behind me here is a look at the jet stream. Okay, so behind me here, let me make this bigger. There we go. So by the way, this is a website called tropicaltidbits.com. I'll just plug that for you. It really is a cool website to check out if you're a real weather geek, and it's free. What we're looking at right now is the jet stream. Now the jet stream is known as a river of air. This is at a height of about 35,000 feet or so. So this is kind of up where the airplanes fly, 40,000 feet. And what we have here is there's a dip over here over the western U.S., and there's this really strong jet here, and then it comes down like this and loops around. And the reason that's important, and let me zip ahead here too. The reason that's important is that we're under this area, which is called the ridge or the high. Okay, so there's a dip out west, that's where it's cooler. Then there's a big ridge here, that's where it's hot. And what's really interesting about the jet stream is that it is linked in with the weather at the surface. It's linked in with temperatures on the ground to where the jet usually resides over the area on the surface that has the biggest change in temperature. So you would have cold on one side of the jet and warm on the other side of the jet, and that's where you're going to have the strongest flow. The question, though, is, okay, well then does the jet stream cause the temperature changes at the surface, or did the temperature changes at the surface cause the jet stream? And it's like a chicken or the egg kind of discussion. It's real interesting because I don't think that there's a really good answer as to what causes what. What I will say is that it's very interesting. You know, if I had to choose one, I'd probably say the jet stream. But at any given time, you see how there's this bump, there's a down and an up and a down, okay? So at any given time around the world, you usually have a 4-bump pattern or a 5-bump pattern. So I'm gonna show, this is a very, very, very difficult map to look at. It really is. But it's interesting. So you're looking down at the North Pole. The middle of this map is the North Pole. And you've got all these down, up, down. Let's see, there's another down, up, down. So I mean, you've got all these bumps. Maybe there's a better representation of this. Let's see, upper dynamics. Height, anomaly, no, I don't think so. Well, yeah. Okay, this might help too. So you're looking down on the North Pole. There's Santa looking down at the top of the Earth. And then you have each of these little green or blue spots is a different area of low pressure. And they all rotate around, you know, the pole like this. If you're looking down at the North Pole, you'd see them turning around counterclockwise. And anyway, so there's all these little bumps, or what you would call perturbations in the jet stream. And so they move around the globe, and it might take something like 10 days, 14 days-ish for them to move all the way across the whole planet. What's interesting is that you could see a big bump, like in Siberia during the summertime. You might be able to see a big bump, or a lobe, or a trough, you could call it, way over like in Siberia. And 7 days later, or 5 days later, it depends on the pattern, it'll actually move into the western US and bring us, you know, a big plunge of cold air. So this kind of stuff is real important to look at. I know it looks like a mess right here, and it is, but anyway, so what we're looking for is for this red. So he has a dip out here, and then a ridge, and then a dip. What we're looking for the heat wave to break is for this pattern to change, okay? So what we're looking at here is the outlook from the GFS, which is the American Computer Model, Global Forecast System. And its outlook for, this is Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, still there. Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, still there, but starting to get skinny. Okay, this dip out here is sort of stretching out, and then you have an area of low pressure here. So the ridge, the heat dome, if you will, is shrinking. So then we'll look ahead here at Friday, and it's gone. It's basically gone by Friday. There might be a little hint of it still here, but then as we look at, like, here's Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and you kind of have a pattern change. You sort of have this ridge building up in the western United States, and then a dip in the eastern United States. So that may cool us off a little. It should shave a few degrees off the temperatures and give us a bit more cloud cover and give us a chance for rain. So, and then you could also, the GFS model goes out 16 days, and so we can kind of take a look and see if anything else is building back in. And you know what, if anything, it looks like the dominant pattern is for this big ridge to build in. So if you're watching us, today's date is May the 9th, right? I think. And yeah. So if you're thinking ahead at the rest of May, this is May 23rd. Looks like there's a big ridge in place, okay? May 24th, 25th, might change by then, but looking ahead at this week of like May 21st, May 22nd, May 23rd, we could be looking at another big heat wave across the area. So I would say the outlook for the rest of May at this point does look hot most days. There may be 1 or 2 days in between where it gets, a little rainy or, maybe some cloud cover. But from what I'm seeing here from the GFS model outlook, when you see this big red ridge building in, it means Texas, and in fact, much of the country, going to be experiencing some high heat. And that's a big concern down here over in New Mexico because they're experiencing these giant wildfires. Huge, 160,000 acre wildfire near the town of Las Vegas, New Mexico, not Las Vegas, Nevada. And it's only 20% contained as of today, and it is not looking good. When you see this coming up, high heat, low humidity for them, potential for high winds also, and an ongoing raging, wildfire. It's just not a good situation at all. And, as far as Texas is concerned, yeah, we got some decent rain, recently, early last week, but not much to put that much of a dent in the drought. So, look, I hope you enjoyed the little tour of some of the weird quirks in the studio, including our NASCAR scary guy and the robotic cameras that are coming to attack me. And we're going to have to be dealing with this heat wave for a while. So before we go, just a reminder to, I want to sound, not insulting your intelligence by saying check the back seat of your car. We know we have to check the back seat of our car when we have, now my girls are not young anymore, but when they were young, what my wife and I would do, my wife especially, is call each other or text each other, remind each other if there were ever any change in routine. Because, whenever these kids, just tragically die in hot cars, so many times it's that one of the parents, there was a change in the routine, right? So like, let's say mom picks up the baby at daycare every day, and she has a doctor's appointment this day, and so the dad picks up the baby at daycare, and you're in autopilot mode, and maybe you're tired after a long day, and you get home, and then you have this tragedy. And one way to avoid that is just to call that person and say, hey, you have little Junior, right? And then 999 times out of 1,000, they're going to say, of course, yeah, they're in the house with me. But it's just that one time that it could save a life. So just kind of think about that. That'll do it for this week's edition of Mondays with Mike. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and comment. It really helps. I've been looking for some comments of some really good questions. I've had a little bit of a hard time. Maybe I'm not seeing it. I record this right before the newscast, and it plays just after the newscast. The reason I don't do it live after the newscast is that I've been here since 3 and I'm dying. I need to go home and rest, take a nap or whatever. But I've been looking for some good questions from you. Please, if you're on YouTube, write them below. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and drop a question for me. I'll try to find it. And that is it. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Mother's Day once again. See you on TV.